Welcome to the second tactical breakdown. This video was submitted by SavageSambar, and what I liked most about this video was the fact that he showed multiple examples of himself getting smashed, and I especially like those moments where he's swearing because he's really in trouble.
Fuck.
Whether we like to admit it or not, we all do that. Unfortunately, he's one of those people who's also had an issue with the brightness thing in shadow play. So our video quality isn't great, but we'll get by. Let me know if you do find it a bit unbearable. So let's begin. What we're mostly going to look at are the things that he did wrong from my perspective. Remember, we're analysing this according to the way that I like to approach the game. What he did isn't wrong per se, as there is no wrong way to play DayZ. I like to come at it from a more tactical and strategic angle so that I can survive as many encounters and contacts and engagements as possible. Playing the way SavageSambar does is not going to do that for you, but it can be a lot of fun, and I will throw myself into this sort of thing from time to time. So let's start with the general approach shown in the video. Then we'll go over a specific gunfight that he had at the end. First of all, he's entering dangerous and highly populated areas, and apparently without any kind of plan he just walks in and starts looting. Straight away that's inviting chaos. It's easy for things to go wrong even if you've prepared really well. Secondly, he's entering into engagements where he doesn't have a strong advantage. If you're entering into a fight where you're pretty much on a level playing field, that's just a strategically poor decision. In other games and in sporting events, even in board games, we're used to this idea of fairness. We're on a small map or board or field and it's symmetrical at both sides. We have the same number of pieces and the same equipment, and that's so we can find out who is the best in a specific range of skills. But in real warfare, it's about setting up the conditions for victory before the fight actually starts. And that applies directly to DayZ. Everyone spawns exactly the same, but within an hour or so, every player has completely different gear, is in a completely different part of the map, and just their behavior will vary greatly from player to player as well. So if you actually approach this as a game about survival, like I do, then running straight into a fight without an advantage is kind of like playing paper, scissors, rock. Even if you're very skilled in close quarters combat and you're good at running in circles around other people, managing the lag and the glitches, using that piece of shit third person camera and winning, say, 80% of the fights you get into, then your long-term survival is still going to be extremely limited. Maybe you've put hundreds of hours or thousands of hours into the game and honed your skills, but there are plenty of other people out there who have done that as well, and you're going to run into them. And that means at the end of the day, just getting in someone's face, having a close-range battle, it's as good as a coin flip. Here's a good example. He's entering the northwest airfield, and just as he comes around a corner, someone shoots a zombie. If he knew that he was shooting a zombie and wasn't facing in his direction, he had the opportunity to get behind cover and then get close enough and sneak up on this person to make sure that he got the kill. If that other player was actually shooting at him, or he thought that he was shooting at him, then he still needed to get behind cover because he's standing in the open, he's just been running, the aim is going to be shaky, and it'll be kind of tricky to hit them at this range especially. So even if he had the jump on him, started firing first, if those shots miss, that gives the other person time to turn around. Now they're on an even playing field, and what results is a trade kill. So obviously I definitely wouldn't engage at that time. I'd try to set things up for a better outcome, and if I couldn't manage to do that, I wouldn't engage at all, and both of us would leave alive. Moving on to the finale. He's again at the northwest airfield, and he's up that hill overlooking the tents, and he witnesses a few people having a gunfight down there. They're fighting with automatic weapons, and he's up there with a scope. So he can fire a shot without worrying about an immediate return of fire. On the other hand, it's probably a pretty common place for snipers to go to, since it has such a good view over a military area. A good idea might be to put yourself in a position to kill those people who are going to camp there. So you'd be watching out for the people who are watching out for the people who are looting the tents. You can apply this to any area in the game on the map. Cherno, Electro, Berezino, Northwest Airfield, whatever. Think of it like the food chain. You got the algae growing in the ocean, and then plankton feed on the algae, and then little fish come along and eat the plankton, then larger fish come along and eat those fish, and so on. Anyway, SavageSambar is at it again. After firing some shots at a pretty long range, he decides to get a bit closer. He says in the video that it seemed that there was a 3v3 gunfight. One side came out on top with no casualties. But that's always an assumption. You never really know who's in the area, especially in a place like Northwest Airfield. He's assuming that he's the third party, he could be the fourth party. There might even be 5 or 6 people left on the other side. Just because you can't see them doesn't mean they aren't there. Initially he moves up to the wall. Now he's at a range that it's far easier to hit. He still doesn't have to worry about them returning fire, but he's getting into a riskier position as he reaches those walls. You're starting to enter the belly of the beast here. Anyway, he takes aim, gets a good shot, gets the kill. The problem with that is it announces your presence. The fact that they didn't know he was there is a great advantage, but now we have to take that off the list of things he has on his side. He could take the time to change position and attack them from a completely different angle that they don't expect. His long-range weapon would make that effective. Instead, we're going to lose that advantage as well because he's going to push into the trees. He successfully sneaks up closely through those trees, and for some reason, a player in the other group starts pushing up into the middle of the field to some bushes in the direction that his gunshot came from. It's a really bad idea, and SavageSambar shows him why. And then Sambar does pretty much exactly the same thing and runs straight into those tents. When he comes face to face with the last player, again, it's one of those coin flip battles. That's where we'll finish the tactical breakdown of this video. Now, this is very important. I don't want to hear any personal criticism of SavageSambar. If I see any nasty comments, I'm going to delete them. I've made a lot of criticism, but it's completely from an analytical perspective. It's completely through the lens of how I prefer to play the game. What he did is just as legitimate as anything that I do. He also doesn't make the same errors every single time. In the clip that you're watching, you'll see him encounter someone in the street and then turn around and go in the opposite direction. I've actually just picked some of the worst parts of a video that goes for almost 20 minutes. Also, he's a champion simply for just making a video that includes where he made mistakes and got killed. Most people would just put together a highlight of them smashing other people. And then he had the balls to submit it to me so that I could break it down. One more thing. Later on, we're probably going to get people to submit their video by filling out a form. And that's just to cover me so that it's down in writing that you agree to let me use your video, you don't mind that I might criticize it, and also you don't mind if I don't use it. Feel free to submit your video in the meantime, but that's how we'll be probably doing it in the future. I'll give you more info in the next video.
Fuck. To be honest, I was actually lucky enough to survive that far. Came up right next to the guy in the bush who clicked on me